Hi, so this is my first journal entry for how to be an anti-racist. So this is going to cover the kind of introduction. He calls it my racist introduction, as well as definitions. But most of my reflection is going to focus more on my racist introduction, just because I found the introduction just like so complex. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna talk about a couple quotes that really resonated with me. So being a white passing indigenous queer woman, a lot of this resonated with me on more of a personal level, not so much his experiences with being a person of color, but with like my family's experiences with being a person of color, as well as kind of these microaggressions that happen that you're not really aware of until like years and years later. Like I've heard a lot of issues with, I've heard a lot of things said on campus that I wasn't aware were microaggressions, or I wasn't aware was bad, against myself. Being queer, being indigenous, etc. And so, you know, it to an outsider that might sound pretty naive, but it's more common than you think living in this like white-centric world that we live in. So the first quote that I thought was really interesting, so he's talking about this speech that he was performing, and the quote he says is, "I still have a nightmare, the memory of this speech, whenever I muster the courage to recall it anew. It is hard for me to believe that I finished high school in the year 2000, touting so many racist ideas. A racist culture had handed me the ammunition to shoot Black people, to shoot myself, and I took and used it. Internalized racism is the real Black on Black crime." And I totally understand it. And just the whole idea behind living in this white-centric world where you can be discriminatory against like the only people that really understand you, and not even understand it, like being discriminatory against yourself. Yeah, so another quote that I thought was really interesting was, "I am not a racist, but neither am I aggressively against racism." And that's kind of what we talked about. So being on the EDI Rapid Action Task Force, that is one thing that some of us agreed with and some of us disagreed with. A lot of folks wanted to like make like anti-racist pledges, and without formal training, and about half of the room, including myself, really disagreed with that because you can't sign a pledge. Like you can sign a pledge to like not be racist, but I don't feel like you can sign a pledge to be anti-racist if you're not going to actively learn something or actively like commit to classes or, you know, things like that. Like because and that's the reason that quote really resonated with me, because being anti-racist is so much more than just not committing racism, because of the way that our system and the way that capitalism and the way that social injustice happens on such a like massive level rather than just a micro level, because it happens so macro in like politics and things like that. It's really hard to claim that you're going to be anti-racist and then like go shop at a place like Walmart, or like be pro ACT where it's like proven that white folks do better, or, you know, support local, like support jails and support the building of a local jail and things like that. Like, you know, like you're not being anti-racist But what I'm noticing is that, so when I was reading the speech that he was giving, I would like to say that I understood why everything he said was racist, but in reality I didn't. I think I'm so used to seeing blunt racism happen, and that is what that is what I can call out, and that is what I can decipher, that sometimes it's hard to notice these microaggressions and these stereotypes and things. And I was raised, the thing is though, is I was raised really liberally, and I'm educated, and I'm a WGSS major and things like that, and I still have a long way to go. And I think that's the number one thing that I have to learn, and I think that's what this book will hopefully help me learn about my GSRC internship, is that there's always room to grow, and there's always room to learn, and I'm never gonna know everything. Like, I shouldn't be the only person, and I shouldn't be afraid to say that I'm not the only resource for the GSRC, and I shouldn't be afraid to say that there are things that I don't know that are racist, sexist, classist, ageist, ableist, homophobic, things like that. I shouldn't be afraid to say that, because I think that the number one step for unlearning racism is learning that you are racist. And it may be easy to say, for me, it's always been easy to say that I'm racist, but then I never really do anything about it. Because for a long time I thought that being aware that I was racist was kind of just like the only step that needed to be taken, just so people were aware that I wasn't a perfect person and that I was socially aware of that. But I need to take the next step, and I think that's what I took from the section. The last quote that I thought that really resonated with me was the last section of my racist introduction. Is it can become real if we focus on power instead of people, if we focus on changing policy instead of groups of people. It's possible if we overcome our cynicism about the permanence of racism. And Dr. Shi said something to me last semester, that really resonated with me. He said, we don't deserve to see racism end. And at first I didn't really understand what he was saying, but I think this book says it really well, is just because we are doing everything we can, or we think we can, to see racism, sexism, homophobia, and things like that, there's always more to be done. And by saying we don't deserve to see it end, we're really saying it's not going to end, and we shouldn't be discouraged by that, and we also shouldn't be complacent and happy with where we end, because the reality of it is there's never going to be complete social equality, but we can keep striving. So I'm excited to see where this book is taking me, and I'm excited to see how I can apply this book to my major and to my internship, and just to my everyday life. So thank you for giving us this opportunity. I'm really excited to read this book, and I'm really excited to document this. I wanted to do it in video format because of how beneficial I found the Freak Week entries, because I still look back and read them and watch them. So thank you very much for that. I know I went a little over time, but thank you.